So, Miss Elizabeth Martinez.
Yes. So thank you all for your time and attention. Just a little bit about me. And I have worked in recruiting, human resources. I have now my own consulting practice, but started my career working in a staffing agency. Are y'all familiar with third-party recruiting staffing? Go as a temp, get hired by a company possibly. Worked for a global consulting firm doing recruiting on a global basis for a market intelligence, market research company with 8 vertical markets. So recruiting for some very smart people and sales consultants. I also worked in civil design consulting, recruiting and doing human resources there. Worked in manufacturing and construction. So all of this is just to say I've had about 25 years plus experience hiring, finding people, interns, graduates, C-level people, and just to share with you some insight, because I think when we go for interviews, I don't know how many of y'all have been in an interview or even looking for an opportunity. It can be very daunting and you don't always understand. So hopefully, as we go through this interaction together, please ask questions and maybe I can help provide insight. So my first question to all of you is, okay, how many of you have a job or had a job or have been through an interview process? Okay. Do any of you want to kind of tell me about that experience of how you got there or what happened? What was it? Was it a positive experience? Anybody?
It was a positive experience for me.
Okay. So where were you working?
I worked at Lifetime.
Fitness?
Yes.
Okay. What was your job there?
I was an aquatics lifeguard.
All right. So how did that process go? Did you contact them? Did you apply to a job?
So I got referred there as one of the connections that I knew. And then I emailed them, told them I wanted to work there, and scheduled the interview, had the interview with the aquatics head guard, and then had an interview, different interview with the director of Lifetime there.
Were you nervous in any part of that process?
Yes, because they had me memorize their mission statement, and if you didn't memorize it, then you probably didn't get a job. So
it's pretty important to some organizations, but that's anybody else have a story?
So I applied for In-N-Out, and because they paid like $18 an hour, which is kind of crazy. And so I got accepted to go interview, and it went absolutely horrible. Like I just froze up. I was so nervous. Like I answered the questions with like one sentence, and then so I applied for another job at the JW Marriott through like a job fair. So it was a seasonal job, and I was just like very detailed in my questions. I think it was great for me to fail the first interview, and so I got the job like right on the spot.
So that first experience kind of was a springboard to the other one.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. It's good that you had that experience. Anybody else? Interviewing is daunting. Yes, sir.
I work at 7 to 7 Dental Orthodontics.
You do?
I do insurance verification. And the reason why they could get it is because I was like personal friends with one of his managers already. And so they referred me, and she talked so highly of me that I need to interview. They decided on the spot.
Okay, so are you living up to what she said about it? Okay. So that's very important, though. If you all have referrals, which I will tell you, that's the best way to find a job, is the people that are referring you. Remember, you represent them. And so when they're referring and giving you all this, wonderful recommendation, I think you have a responsibility to live up to that. Now, don't tell them to embellish or tell you how wonderful you are. They're going to walk on water, and that doesn't happen. But I think the point is that someone has given you an invitation to work there. And when you do that, do your best because you represent them, you represent yourself. So what's the big deal? Just an internship. I understand you all have to find your own internship. Is that scary?
Yeah.
What do y'all think is scary about that? Tell me. Anybody? What makes you scared about that?
I kind of struggled with talking with people, or I did at least in the past. And talking with someone I like to go and get to a job, which is kind of difficult.
Yeah, I could see a lot of nervous stuff, very anxiety. Yes, ma'am.
It's just inherently awkward, like going out, like reaching out to contact. Hey, can I intern here? It's so awkward. I really like that's like what I've been really struggling with, like kind of HTML, like, and also the last time I did that, like they never like replied back to me. So
Man, that's frustrating. Nobody replying back. And I get that. Anybody else have any thoughts about getting this internship? Nervous about it? Piece of cake? It is very daunting, and I will tell you that being on the other side of the table, it's also equally challenging too, because your organization or the organization that you're working for, they may say, as happened to me in the past, we need to hire 52 interns. Great. And then you go and you find all these candidates and say, oh, no, we're only going to hire 20. So now I have to go back to all those people and tell them, sorry, you're not getting an internship. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on back and forth. So I want to tell you, it's not about you necessarily. It's the organization as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. So an internship, it isn't just an internship. You guys have an opportunity to learn about yourself, to learn about what is this going to be something that I would be interested in doing the rest of my life, maybe, right? How many of you have a dream company in mind right now that you think, this is the place that I think I want to go work at? Anybody?
7 to 7 didn't sort out that
Why do you want to be there for the rest of your career? That's a long time, sir.
It's a long time. I like the atmosphere there. People are very friendly, and it's a good environment to just grow. They allow a lot of room for growth, so I think it's a good field that you like, a good place to where if you want to start off with a career, that they allow for a lot of movement up.
So do you want to stay in the dental field? Do you want to become a dentist eventually? Dental dentist? Huh?
Orthodontist.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. I'm glad you like that stuff. Not this gal. I have a son that's pursuing an electrical engineering degree, and I don't get any of this math. I always offer to help him with his homework, and he always says, no, thanks, Mom. It's cool. I cut that as the pen. So, when we say, what's the big deal? It's just an internship, and this is not working.
Yeah, I'd have to be on the screen. Sorry.
Okay. There's only one word that I have for you guys when it comes to what you're talking about, getting an internship. Prepare. That's the only word I have for you. Okay. So what does that
Thanks,
look
bro.
like?
See you.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thanks, bro.
You know, how many of you, when you're getting ready to take an exam, do you prepare for it or do you just kind of wing it? Especially if it determines your grade. How do you approach your grades?
I prepare for it.
You prepare? Okay. Anybody else? Just kind of wing it?
I'll wing it.
This preparation.
I show for help the best.
And take the notes. Still prepare as much as shirt, but I don't. Just kind of be that get that blood.
Okay. Anything else?
but like
Mainly winging it.
but like I do like go in and I do try to care a little bit.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just skip.
Kind of in between. So what you prepare for in anything is what you're going to see as an outcome. Sometimes you might be successful. Sometimes if it's a difficult task, you may not be. And the same thing happens with interviewing, or as you said, calling up a company and, hey, I need an internship. That may not be the best approach. And so hopefully today I can kind of walk you through about some things that you can do to possibly find an internship at the place that you want. So the prepare, can I change this now?
Yes.
Okay. Number 1, the P stands for possibilities. When you guys are out there thinking about getting an internship, I want you to think big. I know you've heard the term think outside the box and maybe be creative. You have a lot of skills, even with where you are in your education and your experience level. So with the skills that you have and what you want to do, think about what organizations I could go work for and leverage those talents and those skills. That's the way I would be approaching the internship, to find out which one do I want to go work for, what companies, what industries. There's a lot to look at. And it doesn't matter that you have experience or not. What matters is that you have the desire to learn, that you have the desire to use what you've learned and apply it. And so for me, as a recruiter, I was always looking for those kind of candidates. There was many that would send a resume. I would read through the resume. It didn't match the job posting. So I would pick up the phone and say, hey, you've applied to this job. Tell me why you applied to the job. If I didn't have a cover letter. Sometimes people don't put a cover letter. We could talk about that too if you want to. But somebody applied to a job and I didn't see the connection. I remember there was a gentleman that was very seasoned in his career at a director level or higher, and he applied to an entry-level position. And I thought, okay, what gives? So I called him up. The reason he did that was just so that he could get his foot in the door. And I will tell you, that was a pretty smart thing, because what I did is my job is to find great people to work for the organization. And because I was connected with the leadership team and understanding the jobs that we had and where we were going, I was able to present his resume and say, we've got a candidate here that might fit in that position that you were looking to fill in the future. And so we hired him in that role. So that's why I say you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So if you see a company and you can leverage your skills, you can go in and do that. But you have to do your research. So how many of you know to go and research a company as a part of your job search, either now or in the future? How many of y'all know that? Anybody else? Why would you want to do that? Anybody have a reason or can think of a reason why you'd want to do that?
Yes, or can sell them what they want.
You can sell them what you want.
So you can sell them what they want, what kind of person they'd like for that position. They have something.
That's a good answer. Yes.
I was going to say, if you get called in for an interview, you're going to be more prepared, knowing what's the company's about.
Yes. Anybody else?
Make sure you align with the company values.
That's important. How many of you want to work for a company that you align with their values? That's important to you. Okay. How many of you are just interested in finding a job and getting a paycheck?
Both.
Okay. That's why you want to research a company. There's a lot of companies out there that you could look at. You could say, oh, I want to go work there. But when you go and do your research, do you really want to? Some of them do a very good job of putting everything out on the website, because right now there is a talent shortage. The baby boomers are leaving the workforce and now they've got to replace it, and there's not enough people. So there is a shortage of workers, and they want to find people who have skills, have some talent, and they can put them to work in their company. Entry level doesn't matter, but you've got to decide where you want to work, right? That's important. I will tell you that I have not worked for a company that I did not want to align. I did not want to work for according to their values. So I'm like you. If I'm going to go work and put all my energy into, I needed to. The global company, I was only there for 2 years. There was no alignment there, and I was ready to move on and go find something else. It wasn't about them. It was about me. I didn't want to work in that culture. It was very hardcore. People didn't matter. They were a commodity. And the CEO looked at me and said, Liz, let's just go hire these salespeople. They're just a dime a dozen. I said, please don't ever say that to anyone. That's disrespectful. And so I found myself saying, you know what, I'm not going to work here. I cannot look across the table at you or you or you and say you have a great opportunity here when all you're going to be doing is being a commodity. I just need to make money from you. Let's go. And so I was able to help them, but finding people that they didn't care. They just wanted to go to work, get a paycheck, and go home. That's all I care about. So those are the kind of things you have to think about. What do I want to go work for? Why this company? And again, be creative. Be creative in looking at companies, but search everything. See what they're looking for when you look at a job. Also, to your point about calling in, how many of you have called into a company just to ask for employment? What was that like for you?
That was not great because they didn't use it. I tried calling them several times, reaching out with emails and all that stuff. I got no responses, but sort of.
That is so frustrating. Anybody else? Somebody else sent their hand up calling in? Yes, sir.
I actually called a company this morning and might have been interviewed to tomorrow.
Great. So what would you tell us was how did you approach them? When they picked up the phone and said, XYZ company, how may I help you?
Yeah, so I kind of had like something I already was going to say. and I had emailed them before previously, but they hadn't seen it. So I just told them about the email, and she was like, "Yeah, Mr. Richter actually talked to the company about me already, so she already kind of knew who I was." And so yeah, she was like, "Yeah, we can get an interview tomorrow," and I was like, "Sure, we should."
Awesome. And so again, that referral. So for you all that are here too, as you go through life, remember how you treat people, how you act at work, what kind of things that you do in a workplace. If you're productive, if you're responsive, if you do a good job, you're going to have people speak on your behalf. And there's people that are going to want to recruit you to another place. See it all the time. I leave and I want to take this person, and this person with me. And I do have somebody that I was in the staffing business a long time ago. And anytime he didn't have a job, he'd call me up. I wasn't placing people, but I found him a job because he was a great worker. And his love was doing radio, television, and film. He got that degree from UT, and that was his passion. But to pay the bills, he did accounting. And so we needed a billing specialist. And I told the CFO, I said, listen, he'll show up to work every day. He'll do everything you ask him to do, and he's a hard worker. I don't know if he can do the billing job. And so they hired him. He's still there today. And that was probably about 17 years ago. Still doing a great job. So that's why it's important. Now, in calling into a company, it can be hard, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So imagine the possibilities. What's possible for me? What do I want to do? You guys need to think about it. And I will tell you, as a recruiter, even for entry-level people, you guys are in STEM, right? This is a STEM class. So there's people that expect more from you than of me, the business major. No, I didn't have to do as much math or science or whatever you guys did. I did get a BS, but that's why I say there's more expectation from you. You guys are supposed to be a little bit smarter, right? And so you have to think about things. And so be creative, think about the possibilities, and people are going to expect more from you. So I'm just going to tell you that straight up. When I've recruited engineers, they were nervous about it, but nobody learns to be an engineer what you're going to use on the job. You learn it all when you get to the company, but you have to have some snap, if you will. And that's what I was always looking for. I was looking for that snap. Is this person have a personality? Do they care? But I will tell you, if they came to the career fair and I asked them, what do you know about my company? And they didn't have an answer, they were already eliminated from me interviewing them. I took them out of my selection process. I did. I thought, well, if you didn't take the time to research my company and understand why you want to work there or what your value is going to be to the company and what you want to do with your career as it aligns here, then I don't think I want to have you work with my clients, because my clients need you to be attentive. The leaders here need you to work hard. They need you to be respectful. They need you to be responsive. If you don't even know why you want to be here and your only answer to me is, I need a job, well, you can go work for another company. I need some people with some staff. So that's also a benefit of doing that. And that's the next point is research the companies. Really and truly research your companies, because when you do have that conversation and you call in and you do get somebody on the phone, you can tell them why you want to work there, what you saw. That's going to be your ticket in the door. I looked online. I saw that you all do this. I'm very interested in that. I've been doing these projects at school. Whatever the case may be, you have a way to look at that and have something to talk about when you do get somebody on the phone. So how many of you know to research? I mean, we've talked about it, but how many of you know that that's really key point? Research, and you can look into it. And that company that you thought you wanted to work for, what you research, you may go, you know what? It's not what I thought. You know what I would also do? This is just me. If I was calling into a company, I did want to work there. If there was a specific position, let's say a graphic designer, and that's what I wanted to do, I'd call and say, see if I could find somebody online. Go to LinkedIn. You can look up graphic designers. These are the techies. I'm not. And find out where they work and just call them up or send them a message and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this. What do you think about the company that you work for? Can you give me any insight? Is there anybody I can talk to? Right? That's how you research. Find people that are doing that. How many of you have a LinkedIn page or a LinkedIn profile? Do you? Highly recommend you do that. Not Facebook, but LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where a lot of recruiters look for people. So I highly recommend that. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but I cannot stress to you the significance of researching a company and understanding what they're about. That's going to give you food to or language when you talk to somebody or get somebody on the phone. When you call in, who do you typically ask for if you're researching a company?
Hiring manager.
You could, they're busy.
Sure.
Human resources. Yeah. And when you call at the receptionist, you can say, "Hi, my name is Elizabeth Martinez. I need your help." How many times when you hear "I need your help," do your ears perk up and say, "How can I help you?"
10 out of 10.
Pardon me?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's "I need your help." Okay, how can I help you? Well, I'm looking for an internship. Who in your organization can I speak with about a possible internship with your company? Oh, well, you need to go online. You need to go fill out this and that. Okay, great. Is there somebody that I might be able to talk to? Go look online. When you do your research to your company, look up who's in human resources, who's in the careers section. Send them an email. "Hi, I'm interested in an internship. How would I go about that process?" You can do simple things like that. So this is my favorite one. Please research the companies, do your due diligence. It's very important and it gives you confidence. So when you do get somebody on the phone or you do just get that opportunity to interview with them, you will have a little bit more of a reason why I want to work here. I want that question answered for me. Why do you want to work here? What do you know about my company? Okay. Any other comments about this? Any questions? Okay. Perfect. And again, you remember every recruiter, every hiring manager that you speak with, they have their own ideas about what they're looking for. So engage with the company. How are you going to do that? Are you going to call them? Are you going to email them? Are you going to text message them? LinkedIn? What would you all prefer to do in contacting a company? I know things have changed since I started looking for a job, but what do you all think is the best way, or how do you feel comfortable contacting a company?
I feel the most comfortable emailing.
Emailing? Okay.
Yeah, I agree with emailing, but I think calling would probably be the right choice.
Okay, calling is good. It's daunting. It's crazy. You might feel like, I don't know what to say. That's why you research the company. Anybody else?
I feel like the best is probably going and having like in-person conversation.
You could, yes, if they're open to that. When I was in staffing my sales, I was supposed to go in and ask for the CFO. And I thought, oh, yeah, so the CFO is going to come running out of his office just to come talk to some salesperson that wants him to hire my people. No, not happening. Not today, not tomorrow either. So it's hard. And it depends, because also from a legal perspective, if I take resumes in, depending on the regulations for the industry that you're going into, they may say, how do you receive resumes? How do you receive applicants? And you have to tell them your process. So if I accept them from fax, phone, email, then I have to take every single resume and have to account for it, why we didn't hire that person. So for me, I took all of the resumes and said, anybody applying for a job, we're not going to take walk-ins, we're not going to take faxes, we're not going to take phone calls. If you want to, you have to apply to the job directly. And that's a legal thing. So if you are doing that, want to drop off your resume, just know it isn't about you. It's about the company and then following the legal compliance. So again, these are kind of the things behind the scenes that you may not know. And it is, what, you don't want my resume? That happened at career fairs. Some people do not take resumes when you go to a career fair. Why? Because they have to respond to all of those resumes, and they don't. Some of them would hand you a laptop or an iPad to apply, but that's because they have a legal compliance issue that they have to respond to. And so that's where, so maybe that'll give you some hope that it isn't bad. What I would say on your email, if you guys have an email address, make sure it's professional, not partygirls@hotmail.com or studmuffin@hotmail.com. Y'all are laughing. I've seen it. I've seen a lot. And if you're going to contact a company, also check your voicemail. If they're going to leave you a voicemail, hey, you know what to do. And I just look at it and go, yep, hang up, click, done. That's the message. Or some animals in the background. You guys, if you're looking for a job, you got to be serious about this. And again, your email address. Some of them, I would just, you guys are not serious. Or how you write a note to me. Hey, I'm looking for a job. I saw it. No. How about, dear Mrs. Martinez or hiring manager, whatever. Sometimes when you do the research and you find out who's taking in the resumes, putting their name on that little note is very powerful. Because let's face it, if this is like In-N-Out Burger, what other place is a place that everybody wants to work for out of high school? Is there a cool spot that everybody wants to work at? That's a place.
AGB.
HEB, right.
It's a lucky guard.
Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. I mean, tell me, is there other places that you all think of in your peer group now that everybody thinks, oh man, I got to get a job there? I mean, it's just awesome.
No, we did it.
Anybody? What about Rackspace used to be the thing? I don't know if it is people or what else is there?
You're like,
Yes, sir.
Google.
Google. Oh yeah. Everybody wants to go work at Google. So Southwest Airlines used to be a big deal. Not anymore. What was it not to be? Okay. So what I'm saying is when you think about those companies that all of you feel like this is a cool place to work and it would be fun, HEB or a great career, think of how many people are applying to that job. And so when you do that, what's going to make you stand out? Is it going to be your email address that they go, I don't think this person really wants a job? Because recruiters have that ability to look at your resume and sort through it. If they've got 1,000 resumes to go through or 500 resumes, they may just do a keyword search. I mean, and just pick the cream of the crop, or they may only get through 50, find the people that are qualified, and the rest of them just, because there's a compliance thing, a legal compliance, they will just send an email saying that, thank you, we filled the position, and then their response to the resume that was received, they would just say, didn't look at because we, filled the position. And that way they can avoid any kind of legal ramifications for not interviewing it. Yes, sir.
would you say it looks better to have like an at Gmail or whatnot, or to have like a contact at like your domain?
Whatever is, Gmail, Yahoo, it doesn't matter. It's the first part, your name or last name or something like that, something very simple. But, the fun names that people had, oh my goodness. I used to go, are you guys serious? You're engineering students. You get ready to start a professional career, and that's your email address? Come on now. You have to think about that. Or the voicemail, if I called and left a message, it's like, come on, you guys. Text messaging. That's another way that people are being, I am very uncomfortable with the text message. That's me personally, because I think you don't get to be formal. And don't use text language. I know y'all have a lot of initials for stuff. I don't even know what it means. I ask my son all the time. He's like, well, you don't need to know all that stuff. But I don't. And so those are the kind of things that you got to think about. Who's on the other side of perceiving that? It's not your friends. It's not something fun. If you want to be taken seriously, you need to watch how you interact. And when you do your LinkedIn profile, get a good profile picture. Don't take a picture with a snake. Are you at a party? Those kinds of things. People they want to see who you are, and are you professional? Are you taking this serious? Because if you're not, there's lots of other people I can choose that might be a little bit more serious about their job search and coming to work here than you're being. Practice. Once you figure out what you want to say, the companies that you want to go to, all the things that you're, interview questions. Oh my goodness. Y'all can go on YouTube and you can find all kinds of tips and tricks about interviews. What I will tell you about interview questions is they're there, and some of them use them as a tool to separate you from who they're going to hire. Some of them are used to be intimidating. I've never done that. For me, I'm looking for the right person to fill this role to move that department or the organization forward. But you are going to have interviews that they're going to ask you silly questions. For example, if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why? If you were in a stack of pancakes, which pancake would you be? You guys, serious stuff. This is what people ask. because I've asked candidates this when I've interviewed them. What's the craziest question you've gotten? On Wall Street, the people that are going to be in the on the floor of the stock exchange, they do crazy things. Some guy coming in, yelling, ranting, and raving. That sun coming in the window, and all kinds of stuff going on, just to see how you respond. See if you can handle the pressure. There's all kinds of things that people do in the interview process. My recommendation to you is look up all different kinds of interview questions and be comfortable with your answer. When people say, well, what is the right answer, Liz? And I always tell them the truth, whatever you think, whatever comes to mind. But that's why you've got to be prepared. Because as you experience, they asked you a question and you kind of froze, right? That happens. I've been on interviews. I don't like being interviewed. It is. It's very challenging depending on the person on the other side of the table. They can be kind, and some of them are not so kind. Some of them are on a power trip. I was just telling your instructor, Mr. Richter, right, that I was at a career fair coaching some of the students at UT, and an incredible individual had a perfect resume. Petroleum engineer said she went to a career fair. She stopped at one booth, talked to one recruiter, one hiring manager. He said something to her, and she left the career fair, and she didn't even pursue all the other opportunities that were out there for her because of that one person. Don't let that be you. Please don't let that stop you just because of someone's behavior. But you answer the questions as best you can, and that's why preparation, practice of what you're going to say. One of the questions that some people like to ask, it's not my favorite, but tell me about yourself. How would y'all respond to that? Tell me about yourself. What would you say? Or how would you direct that question? Yes, sir.
I would tell them about the other activities outside of school I do. Swim, church, what other clubs or like leadership positions I hold.
Okay, that's very important. Yes, sir.
You glorify yourself, but not to a point where you sound egotistical. So like shape them to see that you can work with other people.
Yes, it's a well-rounded answer. Yes.
Well, I describe I guess a positive trait that would be useful for two at the company. And then I also like awards or certifications.
Yes, you guys are on the right track. Again, researching the company, what's important to them, right? And how does that align with their culture, what the position is, what you could do for them? Yes, and you want to be brief. You don't want to tell them about, well, when I was 4, I have 3 brothers, and then I went to middle school, and then we moved. Not that. You're just doing a very big highlight about who you are so they can get a good understanding of all the activities, how you're involved. That's his question. One of my favorite questions, I don't like to ask the question, what's a weakness? I did have a CEO that used to ask the engineers that, and he would ask one of them got hired. I don't know how after he made this answer, but he asked him, he said, what's your weakness? He said, women. I said, really, Justin? Really? He goes, well, it's true. And I said, okay. He got hired. What? That was his answer. Another question, and again, the CEO would come to me afterwards, and sometimes he would be impressed with the person I brought in to hire, and sometimes he would make fun of me, like, really, Liz? So one of the candidates, he asked to describe yourself in one word. Again, this is a graduate, and he said, brilliant. So to your point, he was just like, what in the world? What in the world? The other thing was, when you are in that interview, I am going to tell you, you have to have questions. You have to have questions for the employer because it's not about them. It's about you too. This is a relationship. You want to decide if you want to work in there. So you also come up with questions about what you want to know about this job and about this company. One of my favorites is, tell me why you work here. What is it about this company that you value? So you're asking and why would I want to work here? It's a good question to ask. Then you get to see, sometimes what people are going to say. Anyway, my favorite interview question was, Tell me who you find is the most difficult person to work with. And some people would say, well, what do you mean? I said, stand to the question. Because I want to see where you're coming from. I want to see how you see that. And so they would say, somebody who's arrogant. And I'd say, well, okay, when you say arrogant, what does that mean? Because I wanted to make sure that my arrogant and their arrogant was the same. You would be surprised at how different it is. Some people would say, well, somebody's hard to work with. Well, I don't know if that's really necessarily arrogant, but okay, but you want to make sure. So you've got to have answers for these questions and decide. Now, in that question, if you describe somebody that I'm going to hire for, this guy is pretty hardcore and he thinks very highly of himself, and you're going to go work for him, and that's the person you don't want to work with, you may not get called back for the job, right? But thankful to you that you don't. That's why I tell you, when you're interviewing, be honest with your answers. You may or may not get the job, but as long as you're professional, you're honest, and you're prepared, that goes a long way. So lots of stories about people in interviews. It's kind of fun. But that's why I tell you, my job is to find the right person for that particular role. Okay? And that's what they're doing, really, if it's a serious company. So practice. Go on YouTube, look at some of the questions, look at some of the answers, and then you formulate your own. The same thing that we're going to get to here in a minute. Appearance. Okay, this is a big deal to me. So when you all walked in the room and you saw me, within a matter of seconds, you already judged who I am and what I'm about by the way I dress, right? And how I carry myself. The same thing is happening in an interview. And you don't know people's bias. You don't know the person that's interviewing you, all of their biases. So the reason why they tell you to wear a dark color, a light colored shirt, minimal jewelry, men clean shaven, is because you are taking a bit of subjectivity from the interviewer who doesn't even subconsciously maybe realize their biases, and you're taking that away so that you can be focused on you and the interviewer, that they're not focusing on you. I tell women and men, do not wear cologne or perfume. Why? Why do you think?
Sure. They don't like the scent.
Could be.
It's distracting.
Could be. Some people take a bath in their cologne. It's like, whoa.
Okay.
Or their perfume.
So you have too many salads with your cake.
That could be it too. Subconsciously, and I tested this theory, the person that you're interviewing with, what if the perfume or cologne that you're wearing is the perfume or cologne of somebody they just broke up with?
Wait.
Or just got divorced from? You guys laugh. It's true. There was a man that when I was telling him this, I used to work with him. He goes, you know what, Liz? That's exactly right. And I said, what do you mean? He said, there was a girl that I went out with, and she was wearing the same perfume as my grandmother used to wear. And I didn't want to go out with her anymore after the first date. And it was too late. He goes, I think it was the perfume. It reminded me of my grandma. I thought, well, thanks for sharing that. That kind of tests the theory there. But seriously, you want to take the jewelry. I know that tattoos are a big thing. Some companies like them, some don't. I don't know. Your hair color, your just the way that you do things. Everybody's different, but you have to remember you're going for an interview, and what your job is to make sure that they focus on you, your answers, and not looking at you, and already they don't even know that they have a bias. That's why they give you all these things. Women, you can wear a skirt. Please make sure it's a good length. Please don't wear anything too tight. Men, same thing. Find something that fits you. You don't have to wear a suit. You can wear a nice blouse and gentlemen, nice slacks and some shoes. My son, I've been doing this for a long time. He went for an interview and he didn't get the job. I said, well, how are you dressed? Well, Mom, I said, how are you dressed? Okay. And I said, you need to get a suit. He goes, Mom, they don't wear suits there. And I said, I know. Just get a suit. Trust me on this one. So, okay. So we got him a suit and he went to the interview. I said, so what happened? He goes, I got the job. I said, you should listen to your mama. But that's, again, what you're doing also, and I shared with him this with Mr. Richter, you're respecting them. When you come dressed professional, you're respecting the people that you're interviewing for and showing them respect, and you're respecting yourself. When you come casual, in shorts, you don't iron your clothes, you don't have any, then you've already told them that they're not important. I always say it's like going on a date. How about if you ask somebody out and well, why did you ask me out? Oh, well, I was going to sort my sock drawer, or I asked 3 other people and that's kind of what you're doing, is you're putting them in a position to where it doesn't really matter. When you interview, it's as if that is the most important person in the room and they should treat you the same. Now, if you have an interviewer that's disrespectful, my daughter went on an interview and he asked about whether she was married. I said, wow. And I said, when anybody asks you a question like that, you can say, excuse me, how does that apply to this job that I'm going to be doing for your company? How does that, my answer, going to impact my ability to do this job? And it puts them on notice that you're not here to play games, and then you get to decide if you want to work for that company. But just because you're young and inexperienced doesn't mean that you have to put up with those kinds of things. So you might get that along the way, but you always be professional, because remember, you're representing yourself, right? So these are some of the things. If Mr. Richter wants to give you a slide, these slides, no, they're helpful, but this is really good. Cell phones, leave them in the car. Put them turn them off. Don't let that distract you. I had one candidate pick up the phone during the interview, and he picked up the phone and answered the call and put it down. And he said, do you know how much longer we're going to be? I said, we're done. He may have been the best candidate, but just doing those little things, I couldn't see my name is going on that person to the hiring manager. And if he did that kind of a mistake, then why would I want him to come work in that role? This is a professional role. So remember, all your behaviors, leave them in there. Take a pocket, take a portfolio, make sure there's a zipper, put your stuff in there. But make sure that you don't have your cell phone going off or even in there. You want to be totally present. Resumes. This is your ticket in the door. This is the first thing that anybody's going to look at that's going to tell them about you. Very important. Now, here's some formats again. You're very entry level, but the focus is on what you're doing in school, what you want to do, your objective, your education. If you have any experience, great. If you don't, that's okay. Your awards, your activities, 1 page. 1 page. That's all it needs to be, is 1 page. If it's any more than that, then you must be a master's student or a PhD or a professional. 2 pages are too much. You need to condense it, because if I'm looking, and like I said, your In-N-Out Burger, Google, any of those, they're looking at 1 page, they are skimming your resume, and just like that. And if they don't see some of the things, or it gets too long, or the format is off, look at this right now. When y'all look at this, do you see the format? It's perfect, right? It's all lined up. I will tell you, when I interview for administrative or detail-oriented positions, if there's a period gone or something's out of whack or a misspelling, I'm already done. Your resume, just thank you very much, have a nice day. Because the role you're having is a detail-oriented job. If you can't get your resume right, then I can't use you in this position. The people that you're going to work for are counting on you to catch those mistakes, right? So you have got to look at your resume, have other people look at it. I know it's frustrating. I don't like doing a resume, but it is important for people to get an insight into who you are. Very important. And the fonts, y'all don't be crazy with them. Don't put your picture on that. That's discriminatory. If you're looking for work in Europe or other parts of the world, yes, they do full Photoshop. They talk about their religion. They talk about their hobbies. They talk about everything, but that's called a CV. And that's for outside of the U.S. But in the U.S., we have very strict discrimination laws. And when you put your picture on there, that's a big thing that they can just weed it out, because I see what you look like, and then somebody's going to claim that, I discriminate against you because you were orange, purple, yellow, or green. You can't do that, right? So that's why I say no pictures. Okay. What else about a resume? What do y'all think about the resume? Is it hard to do? There are so many fonts out there. There's so many things to do. Do they need to go?
No, but just wonderful.
So, we ready? I know some of you are snoozing. I get it. It's kind of boring. Okay, so we're going to resume about resumes. So I've had some questions about cover letters. Should I do one or should I not? What do you all think?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, why do you say that?
Guess what we are into.
Yeah, it's a very explanation, more emphasis, and more attention to who you are as a person with critics.
It's good. Yes, it does. Especially when they have 500 to 1,000 resumes. Did you have a comment that you found out?
I want to know, is cover letter like some part of the resume or what is it?
Okay, so a lot of times when you apply for a job, they're just looking for your resume, or you're filling out this automated thing that you send your resume and it auto-populates into this applicant tracking system. That's what they call it. They call it an ATS, applicant tracking. So all of the resumes, and they've gotten pretty fancy schmancy where you send in your resume, and when you get through and you go through the screen and they ask you a lot of questions, they've already populated that. Sometimes you have to fix it because they populated where it depends on what your resume looks like, if it's friendly to those applicant tracking systems, but you still have to go through it. And then they ask you for a cover letter. The real meat and potatoes is your resume. When you're experienced, they're looking for, does it apply? How long have you been at your job? Did you get terminated or did you resign? All those kinds of things they want to know. All this, that's what a resume does. When you're entry level, you guys don't have to worry about that. But cover letters, anybody else, cover letters are separate. So that way also too, that your resume you can send all the time. A cover letter is more tailored to the company that you're applying to or the position, because you might be applying for different diverse positions that you use the same skills, but it could be a different position, right? So for me, I could be applying to a recruiter job, but I could also apply to a sales job because the same skills can be leveraged in either one, and I have to demonstrate that to them of why that makes sense. I applied to an employee relations consultant job in California, and it was just to do project work for another consultant who had started her own employee relations. So even though I was not 100% doing employee relations issues, that's when a company has employees, something's happened, whether it's discriminatory or not, or somebody's being harassed, all these things are considered and fall under the umbrella of employee relations. And so I had to tailor my cover letter to speak to how much experience I had to doing that, so that she would know that, yes, it's a part of my resume and you're not going to see it glaring, but I am going to share with her some of the process of knowing the process of doing that particular thing, so she could decide, maybe I'll interview this person, maybe not. But that's up to her. I did get an interview. Anyway, so cover letters are important. Now, you guys are really super lucky because y'all have ChatGPT and other AI. Now, I say that, but I'm saying do not do what other people did with cover letters that you find online. There's so many templates out there. Oh my gosh. And ChatGPT, you could do that, do a cover letter for me. I'm looking blah, blah, blah. At some point, you're going to, even a resume, at some point, you're going to have to own what's in that resume and own what's in that cover letter. And if somebody can tell that after meeting you, that what your letter looks like, your resume looks like, does not match who you are, they can eliminate you from the job, and then you miss out. So all I'm saying is it's a great prompt to use as a tool to think about, how do I want to present myself to this company? They don't see me. They don't know me. They don't know my heart. They don't know what I'm capable of. They don't know anything about me except what's on this piece of paper and what I express in a cover letter. And some people, they don't require a cover letter. I just think if it's a job that you really want and that you think it could be a great place to work, then I would do a cover letter. Absolutely. And those are ones that change depending on the job. Make sense? Anybody else have any thoughts about cover letters? I can always tell when somebody pulled one off the internet. Please? Okay, so I'm a little bit more forgiving. Yes, sir.
Did I did I calculate that answer that you are indicating that potentially for this level, maybe not a cover letter?
It at any level, but it is very important. If you really want that job, you've got to demonstrate that you want that job. That's what a cover letter can do for you if somebody reads it. Now, I will tell you, some recruiters don't read them. Shame on them. That was always to me, if I had a lot of candidates applying to a specific job and they were all equally qualified, so think about it. I'm hiring graduate engineers for an engineer one position. The only real requirement is that you have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from an accredited four-year university. So how many resumes do you think I got? A ton. So for me, looking at your resume, engineers have to be detail-oriented. If the font was off, the misspelling, was like, next, I gotta figure this out. I've got, 150, 200 resumes to go through, and I gotta fill this position, right? So if it's not done well, then that tells me you're not detail-oriented, and that's what you need to be as an engineer. Then I would look at the cover letters, too, because that was another thing. I did have one engineer that wrote a cover letter, and I was very impressed with him, but he addressed it to the wrong company. Yeah. But because I thought he was a great candidate, I called him up and I said, Chris, you need to change who you're writing this to because you're going to meet with the CEO. He was like, oh my gosh. And I said, well, I know. And do you know that when he was celebrating the anniversary, he put that was put in the newsletter. That was his comment that Liz let me change my. I was like, really? Thanks for calling me out on that one. It's trying to help you. But he was a fantastic person. So you may be lucky to get a recruiter or a hiring manager that may overlook that, but it's not always like that. So I would highly recommend do your homework, do this. Again, own what's in that stuff. Plus, you want to own it because when you go to work there, then they're going to get to see this is it's very transparent. The same as when you go work for a company. If you're told all these things and then you go there and it's not there and it's not what they said, how do y'all feel about that? It's like, man, I don't even know why I'm working here. They lied to me, right? So same thing goes for you. It's a two-way street. So make sure you own that stuff. Any other questions on the resume or cover letters? Anybody? Very important, because if I don't know anything about you, I know this. And I was one of those recruiters, if it didn't make sense, I picked up the phone and asked. Not everybody does that. But I did because I care about people. I will tell you all right now, each one of you were created for a purpose. It is your life's journey to figure that out. And it's going to be a beautiful mosaic. And so for you, that's what I would say is find your purpose, do what you can, keep going, keep learning, keep growing. And that's what's going to build out this resume and make you, and perhaps get you to the place that you want to be. But that's what I told people sometimes if I'm not hiring you, it's not the right thing. I was very honest with people because I know how that feels. I know how that feels to be rejected, not get a job, but somebody telling me why, if they could. Sometimes I could, right? So think, plan, execute. And that's what I would say. Execute your plan. You have to have a plan. You have to do this. I don't care if you're applying just for some entry-level position. You really need to put some time into this. It's so important. Because the other thing is that you may go somewhere and you may be interviewing for a job and somebody else could see that. The other thing I will tell you, even in the entry-level jobs that you get, I was always recruiting. And so if I saw you at H-E-B checking out my groceries and how you took care of that, or if I saw you at a different place and your spark and your energy, I might hand you my business card and say, guess what? I have an opportunity that I'd like to talk to you about. Would you be interested? It's all in the manner that you carry yourself in the role that you're in. And every position that you're in, you can learn from. And when somebody asks you to do something extra, do it because it only adds to your resume. I'm not asking people to be disrespectful for you, or I'm not talking about that. But when there's an extra assignment to do or learn something else, raise your hand and do it. Because you don't know if that next job, they're going to require that specific software skill or that specific experience, and you can say, I got it. And you might be the person that gets the job for that particular plant. So, that's it.
Then,
Yes, sir.
you go. Did not over that.
where do you submit the cover letter? Like,
It goes with your resume. Usually there's a place you'll see in the application process online. They have a resume and then they have a place for you.